Carter Lang is Justin Bieber and SZA's favourite producer, but why do they love his beats so much? So today we're going to uncover the secrets behind his techniques, and I'm going to show you how to use them in your beats. So what makes Carter such a perfect match for SZA and Bieber? It's his ability to create unique textures and that emotional but happy tone to his beats. And the big secret to this is using major chord progressions. The use of effects is something you definitely should experiment with as a producer. First, let's listen to his production on SOS's Far.
Try to wash all of my shit away. Try to wash all my emotions.
You hear guitars throughout his production with those happy but emotional chords. But how does he do this? Using rich major 7th chords. This works because the chords contain notes a semitone apart, which creates that tension. But what's clever about his guitar arps is he mixes the bass, which are on quarter steps of the beat, along with the melody, which is actually on 1/3 steps of the beat. And this creates that floating feeling. And I'll show you exactly how this works with the drums later. Carter also runs these guitars through pedals to add that extra layer of texture. To do this, you want to route it to a bus, add an old amp and a portal. But this isn't the only trick that he uses on his guitars. First, you want to record in an acoustic guitar top line, stretch one to be faster and pitch it up, and add in an outer space to give it that textural delay. With the same melody, stretch it this time to be slower and pitch it down. This time add a wah effect. Then to give that fullness, Carter adds strings. To do this, we want to layer 2 sets of different strings. Then we want to add that string phase. Then to create that high-end sparkle, add in a synth key and accent, but add in a portal automation at the end of the synth keys, which Carter does to create that reversing texture. In the second half of Far, Carter adds that like glitchy lead sound. To do this, you want to open up a synth, turn in on the glide effect, and that's what gives it that sexy sliding feel. Then create a portal automation for the second half. Then Carter does something interesting with his basses, layering a sub bass and bass guitar, then adds a 3rd bass that he uses to improve the bounce of the beat. Moving on to that bounce of the beat, and this is where Carter's guitars with that floating feel really come together. Adding percussion that sticks to that quarter step, or playing the kicks and most of the hi-hats in the 1/3 step. And to mold these together, you want to push the hi-hats back and forth to create that natural swing. Then all together. I'll show you even more tricks that you can use on your drums in the next beat, which moves me on to Walking Away.
Days go by so fast, don't wanna spend.
This beat is more upbeat and blends that pop and R&B. But how does Carter achieve this? The key to this is not just the drums and the bass, but the use of sidechain that you should definitely use to add more rhythm. First, we want to find some old school soul drums, add a kick every half beat, and layer in multiple snares. Shifting the snares allow to give extra groove. But he also does this with a second kick, which is like a layup between the kick and the snare. Again, to add that texture, he would route the drums to another bus and add a delay and reverb, which really brings them to life. But Carter adds even more life. First, you want to render the drums and layer them underneath using modulation and bit crusher. To add that rhythm, he adds acoustic strum chords, but Carter is clever the way he uses this, as he plays it palm muted, giving the guitar a percussive element. And here's where sidechain comes into play. To do this, we want to create a sidechain bus for the drum layer by routing it to a limiter on the guitar. You can see when the kick hits, the guitar actually ducks, which really creates that rhythmic movement. And And this can also be done for the bass. And this time routes it to the main kick. Next, we just want to add some keys, and Carter uses a top secret trick on this. First, you want to create those full chords. He uses a dynamic EQ, which raises the G7 frequency so it really stands out. Then layers down some guitar chords, arps, and note slides, which are purposely recorded higher and then pitched down. But why does he do this? It makes the melody's tone so much more warmer. Then to add that texture, renders out the last 4 bars, stretches it, pitches it down, and shifts it over, then pairs it with an outer space to give it that warped feeling. Then creates that lead melody, overlapping the notes to create that humanized feel. And lastly, I sang in those vocals to follow that lead melody. But Carter does something genius. First, the main vocal is pitched up and ran through tons of distortion, turning it into kind of a lead sound. Then he renders it out, stretches it, and reverses it.